Well, let's get some expert opinion now and speak to Dr. Robert Jacobs from the Hiroshima Peace Institute with more on what the threat of radioactive contamination means for Japan's people and infrastructure. Now, Mr. Jacobs, we've seen 2 blasts already. Now there's a warning that a 3rd is imminent. Well, just how much danger are people in?
Unfortunately, that's not really knowable. There certainly is a lot of potential danger. How much danger people are actually in, we can't tell. The information we're getting is conflicted. This, I would say that the explosion at the reactor number 3 today, that reactor uses a fuel referred to as MOX fuel, which has plutonium in it. So the dangers from releases from that reactor are higher than the dangers if there's similar releases from the number 1 or the number 2 reactors. But another thing I would say is that as there was the first explosion, second explosion, and now, quite likely a 3rd explosion, each time this happens, even if the core of the reactors are not damaged specifically, some radioactivity is spread in the region right there at the plants, making any further work to bring this situation under control much more difficult for workers whose exposures are high and so who have to be rotated in and out. So each of these steps is making it harder and harder to control.
Well, again, despite these blasts, the government keeps saying that the safety levels are fine, there's no risk to your health. Understandably, there are concerns that they may be playing it down to avoid mass panic. But in your opinion, are they really telling the whole truth to the public?
I doubt that they are, but that may be because they're not themselves aware of the whole truth. They're not necessarily aware yet of how much of the fuel has melted in each of the reactor cores. So it's a little bit difficult. But historically, I can tell you that in every situation like this, when there is a nuclear industrial accident, there's 2 different programs underway. One is the program to control the problem, and the other is the program to manage public opinion. In the case of managing public opinion, there's always a desire to present the perception that the government is in control, that there is no undue danger, and there's no reason to panic. Often the need to control this kind of perception runs counter to the actual information which may be useful to people about whether they're in danger or not. People rely on the government to give them accurate information about what the threats are. So there's never been a case where the information has been accurate and useful. So there's no reason to believe that the government is now not engaged in trying to manage public opinion and manage perceptions that this crisis is not so bad. And perhaps that's accurate, but we won't know that for a while.
Okay, well, in the situation that we've witnessed in the last few days, is the government prepared for something like this? I mean, we've seen the documents from Tokyo Electric, the operator of the plant, saying that the plant itself was tested to withstand a magnitude 7.9 earthquake, which is obviously much lower than the 9.0 earthquake. So is the government prepared to handle such a situation, or is it simply too extreme given there's a tsunami and the earthquake and now the nuclear warning?
Well, there's 2 things you could say. Obviously, it is too extreme, but it should be the job of the government and also of the plant operators to anticipate what would happen if something beyond design plans occurred. And that may be different at an 8-point earthquake, which is over the 7.9, which was designed for. That may be different at a 9-point earthquake or a 10-point earthquake. But beyond the threshold of the plant's design, certainly there should be some strategizing about what kind of mechanisms would happen. What would happen if the generators failed? And I know there are backup systems, but clearly it appears as though things are operating at a crisis level where the plants are being flooded with seawater. These are sort of last-ditch efforts, and perhaps the modeling included going to last-ditch efforts like this. So it may just be that this event is beyond the capabilities of what this plant or any nuclear plant can withstand.
Okay, well, of course, the safety of the people is of utmost concern here. We understand the government has already evacuated people, and now we're seeing that there are reports of a spike in demand for iodine. Now, is there anything else the government could do? Should they be doing more, if there is something more that they could do?
Well, I personally believe that giving people accurate information is really imperative. People are very scared, and nobody wants the public to panic, but people need to have information in order to make clear decisions about what the risks are to them and what actions they should take. So I believe that there should be quite a bit more communication, and there should be clear communication. I realize that can be difficult in a crisis, but the goal of managing public opinion should be secondary to ensuring public health.
Okay, just very briefly now, how is all of this going to impact people's attitude towards nuclear energy in the future?
Very negatively, obviously. People have fears about nuclear power, and they're now seeing those fears and actualized, and they're realizing what the dangers are in extreme situations. One thing I'd like to say, too, is that these plants that are flooded with salt water will no longer be usable. So this will cut Tokyo's power. That power will have to be replaced. So there'll be a debate here in Japan about what kind of power plants are we going to build in order to replace that power. Will they be nuclear power plants? Will they be coal plants? And so I think public opinion is going to be very strongly against siting new nuclear plants in this region.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your insight. Dr. Robert Jacobs there from the Hiroshima Peace Institute.